We've started out with the subject of time, and then we moved on into love, and then we are now at fear. And this seems to be a very timely time to talk about fear. So our next one, just so that you all know, you'll see these are all over campus, but our next one, you can also find out about this on events at sierracollege.edu. Our next one in November, we're going to have two in November, at the front end of November and at the hind end of November, so we don't miss that getting out of here on time, taking our finals and all of that. But on November the 14th, we've got Blake Rood and Jay Blake and Maria Brennan from the Veterans Office talking about fear on the battlefield and after. At the end of November, on November the 28th, we'll have Blair Spalding and Corey Morgan from the Administration of Justice talking about managing fear in fearsome situations. So this is obviously something that is right at the forefront right now, fear and thinking about ourselves and our lives and our loved ones and so on. So welcome to our second Fear Salon for the semester. And my guest today, oh, by the way, we're sponsored by the library, the Friends of the Library, the Sierra College Press, and most importantly, I think the Sierra College students, the ASSC. So we appreciate especially seeing so many students here, and welcome to you all. Our presentation today, as you can see, is the gendering of fear, which we're going to learn a lot more about. And just for the heck of it, I thought I'd show you a picture of Kathleen a few years ago. Well, I was trying to figure out when you started here.
91 I
in
started.
1991.
Yeah, that looks like it's a great teachers event.
Yep. I think we came in here just about side by side. Kathleen was the chair of the psychology department. She still works with the psychology department, but she's the chair now of the Women and Gender Studies department. She got her bachelor's and master's degree in general psychology at Cal State Sacramento, but then went back to get another master's degree in social. I have to read these carefully because I had a hard time spelling them. And moving all these words together, a Master of Science in Social and Personality Psychology, and then went off to get a PhD in Social Cultural Psychology at the University of California, Davis. She worked in the medical school at the University of California as a counselor, or as a research associate, as a matter of fact. Why can't I find that? Because I thought that was so important. I thought I had it here. The work that she was doing at the University of California Davis Medical Center was in the Department of Pediatrics Child Protection Center while she was at Davis. In 2016, just a while back, she formed Veterans Women's Voices, a writing group. Kathleen was a veteran, and she's gathered other women veterans, and has formed a wonderful writing group. She's been doing research in neurodegenerative diseases, and now has shifted her focus to multiple sclerosis, where she hopes to contribute toward a greater understanding of the disease-illness relationships using a sociocultural framework informed by medical research models. There's too many letters for me to put into one sentence. It's a Scrabble board. She continues to do research. She just came back from Europe off of a research sabbatical. She's a bright light at Sierra College. We're so pleased to have her here. And I asked her to speak about, are there gender differences with her? Do we all have the same biological, physiological reactions and so on? And we're going to learn a great deal today about just that. So Kathleen, welcome. I appreciate so much. She's a very, very busy lady, and I'm glad to grab her. So you can clip that wherever you feel comfortable, and drop that someplace. Actually, I'm not supposed to drop it, but, and
I won't
our
drop
topic
it.
is gendering of fear, learning how to be afraid. So let's get off of this and onto this, and
Full screen.
go to full screen. And I believe you're going to go up and down with this. I'm not sure that this will, oh, it does
Look at
work.
that.
So right and left.
Right forward, left back.
Yes. Instead of up, left, right, down.
I think I can do that. You can land a plane doing that, Joey. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. So happy to see you here. Wow. Anybody here got fear? Yeah. Is it about specific things, or are you feeling it perhaps a little generalized? How many of you got some like specific things you're afraid of? Yeah, right. How many of you is now turning really generalized, just kind of global? Thank you. We have 5 people that are just 6 generalized. Well, fear is a very interesting topic on a lot of different levels. And as a social cultural psychologist, I don't really spend a lot of time staring at the brain activities. I leave that to my cohorts, such as our brain experts like Dr. Campy here. I'm a social cultural psychologist, so I'm really interested in what about our culture promotes responses, both, should I say, autonomic as well as behavioral responses. So when I think about fear, I think it's a real personal list, right? It's a real personal list. And I had this really great idea, but there are so many of you, and there's a little bit of irony here. I'm going to try it anyway. I am not, and something's actually jingling. All right, so you see the lecture, we're good to go? Okay, great. How the heck did that happen, Joey? I'm not allowed to do that. This is, yeah. I shouldn't be allowed to have any objects. I just have a new form of fear on my way over here. I borrowed a friend's thumb drive to throw this onto because I didn't have a thumb drive in my office, and I lost it while I walked over here. So my fear is facing that person later today, which is a completely rational fear. I realize that. So
Can I write on this side for you?
yeah, what we're going to do is actually split up based upon gender or sex, whichever way you'd like to discern it. So what I would like is a very, very quick list from anyone who is male or man identified over here about, and I am sorry for using a binary, about what you are afraid of. And I don't want you to show it to the other people making a list. That's right. It is interactive, and you are live on camera. So come on up, 5 males that are here, or anybody else that would like to identify in that direction. And I would like to hear a list or see a list from anyone who is woman, female identified over here. And this is not rhetorical. I will not continue standing like this. So come on up. Give me a few people. I want to see some words. And I don't want you to look at each other's words, okay? Just right up there. What are you afraid of? Where's your fear? Where's your fear? Yeah, we're looking at you for sure, Mr. Dixon. We are. All right. Oh, I know you know how to do that. All righty. Toss a word up there. Let's see what shows up. Oh, we have plenty of bravery up here, Joey. Check this out. Doing right on. You're doing right on over on this list. Yeah. All righty. We'll have a dramatic turnaround with the board in just a moment, Joey.
Okay. In the meantime, we'll keep going.
Yeah. Thank you for participating. Excellent. Mm-hmm.
Can't leave. I have to leave early. I have a doctor's appointment I have to go to, so I don't want you to think. I've been doing this for 25 years, but I taught at Sierra for 39
Well, I know you did, of
years.
course. That's where I know you from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you retire?
to
Like
see
10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I thought so.
exactly right.
Yeah. See? I'm old enough to have that historical memory, right? Well, you know, a whole wave of you left at the same time. Yeah. Because you retired the same year as my beloved Harry Avis. Yes, you did. Ooh, wow. All right. Nobody asked for a thesaurus, so I think you have your words. So, when I think about fear, as a psychologist, I do have to question, is it nature or is it nurture? And I am not going to do a talk on nature versus nurture, just basically where does it start? Is it a physiological that becomes psychological? Is it an environment that becomes psychological, that becomes physiological? Is it environmental that becomes physiological and then psychological? We can go all over the board there. And as a social cultural psychologist, I am completely and utterly biased. I am completely biased because the brain does give you messages. But there is no way to take that brain away from the context of a social environment. So I would suggest that it is not purely biological, i.e. nature, and it is not purely nurture environment. There's just no way we're going to untangle that. And frankly, I'm not prepared to talk about that, but I am prepared to talk about the social cultural aspects. And what I want you to focus on here is this piece here, the tiny little word, memories. Because one of the things that we're finding, and the more research we look at in terms of gender and fear, is that memories may play a very key part. In particular, we start looking at the women's rates of PTSD. So there's your process. I'm not going to read it out loud. You can follow the errors, or arrows. And we all know that fears like this are completely and utterly rational. For example, many times there's a clown shark. Do you get it? Okay, it's a real type of shark. Okay, so a clown shark coming at you in the water, and so it would be completely rational to get out of the water at that point, right? I mean, it's coming straight at you. When you have these sorts of responses, i.e. an animal about to devour you, I'm going to suggest context doesn't have a whole lot to do with your response, okay? That you go straight on the low road, okay? Straight to the amygdala, and you are probably not going to think, I'm about to fight, right? So what are you going to most likely do? Yeah, you're out of there, right? You are going to attempt to remove your body from the situation, unless you're particularly special. And I don't know that many people that'd be willing to take on a tiger. But when thinking about this, I had to look at the research to see if there are gender differences. And in psychology, we love differences. And we also love to have what I like to call pathological examples, i.e., you know, women being really scared and men being, oh, kind of scared, or ways in which we are looking at poor little babies that are messed with because some psychologist is studying fear. How many of you have taken psychology? You know who we're talking about here, right? Just remember, it's a pure science, okay? And little Albert apparently grew up to be just fine, okay? just fine. But gender differences in PTSD are telling us a story. And one of the expectations was that babies, because we tend to interpret baby behavior based upon gendered expectations about that baby, that there's actually been research that looked to see if girl babies were more scared than boy babies. Really? I know. I feel the same way, Joey. And so the idea, I thought, was rather absurd because they were talking about little tiny people that haven't had a whole lot of gender socializing. So they were saying that is what type of argument? Oh, class, oh, psychology people. If they're saying there's a difference between boy babies and girl babies in how they're going to have a fear response, and they're little tiny babies, we're probably talking about some sort of nature argument, right? That women are biologically predisposed to be fraidy cats, right? Just a little bit. But that kind of flies in the face of everything we know in terms of looking at the data. But for some reason, within our cultural imagination, we build this notion that girls are scared and they start off that way. Immediately, out of the chute. And they are more hyper attentive, they are more afraid of social situations, of fear stimuli, for example, than males. And I have to wonder, Now we know the socialization for babies starts right at the beginning. And what I mean right at the beginning, I do mean right at the beginning. We can see that little baby gets handed to you in that little diaper, right? Now, I don't care what anybody else says, okay, but I am here to proclaim that any baby in a diaper who has not had anything pasted onto its head to indicate if it is a male child or a female child, okay, is going to be undiscernible. It's in a diaper. Are you with me? It's a baby. But we can see right at the beginning when people are handed babies and you go, here's a baby. You go, oh, baby. They go, oh, and they say, his name is Adam. And you go, oh, ooh, look how strong he is. Ooh, oh my God, what a grip. Right? You do, right? You can not dramatic about it, but we do, okay? And especially if you're in front of the parents, okay? Like, whoa, strong, okay? But wait a minute. So good little Adam is strong, okay? Now, give that baby to somebody else, and you say, here you go, this is little Eve. And you go, oh, be careful of her neck. Oh, yes, she's so sweet. So we know, because there's research that shows that socialization happens immediately. We begin to put people into these scripts. And the problem, of course, with scripts is they're only as good as the author, right? Only as good as the author. So gender differences in PTSD actually do exist. Women are twice as likely to have PTSD. And the reason I'm talking about PTSD is because there is a real pronounced fear response. Post-traumatic stress is very much a fear-based response, and it also becomes autonomic. So it's not just you need to think different, it is your body responding, your brain responding, your hormones responding. You are in full response. And we know that babies are fine, okay? Women are twice as likely to have PTSD. Now, this, by the way, is interesting to me because there are a lot of different environments and where we see, where we think we're going to find differences, such as in military exposure. The thought was that women would have more PTSD than males who were exposed to combat situations and war situations. And actually, that's not how it works. But in general, over a lifespan, women are much more likely to have PTSD. And so we have to start thinking, okay, what's up with that? And one thing we know, and this is some interesting work being done out of Department of Psychiatry at UC San Francisco. And there she's doing a form of Little Albert, crossing over with Milgram and the Buzzers, okay, sort of a double. So she has done some nice work looking at male and female from the VA and not from the VA, so veterans and non-veterans, and she looked at how to create fear responses in them. And it's really easy to create a fear response because all we need to do is give you pain, right? Okay, so what she did was she had a lot of different slides, and when particular slides came up, and you sit there with the slides and you're hooked up to electrodes that are going to produce pain, okay? And when a certain slide comes up, you get a nice little shock, all right? You know, a painful shock. And so what she watched was the galvanic skin response, as well as several other indicators of individuals watching the slides. And what we know about conditioning is that if you see a slide of a scary clown and it is paired with a strong shock out of 20 different slides, and every time that randomly came up, that scary clown, and you got a shock, that the minute you, or should I say, the second you see that scary clown, we can see a, if you will, fear response in you, right? Who knows what I'm talking about? Anybody ever have a sibling? So you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Okay, because we learn that business. We learn that business. So what she found is that women fear conditioned much faster than men. And what she's now studying is, with this fear conditioning, will it extinguish slower than it does for men? So just as we learn, we get conditioned to get scary clown shock, if you see the scary clown often enough without the shock, you will start to extinguish your response, i.e. your conditioning. And so what her initial trials are showing, that women don't extinguish, if you will, their fear response, what she calls fear conditioning, as quickly as men do. So there's a little piece of information, but what I wonder is, how come? So there was, in 2012, there was a meta-analysis done looking at the research on gender and PTSD. And they found out several things. Number one, they found is that women are way more likely in which to have preconditions, i.e. been exposed to various sorts of stimuli. Sounds like so laboratory, doesn't it? I'll just say women are just been exposed to way more opportunities in which to have, exposed to more traumatic opportunities. How about that? More trauma, plain and simple. And that what they may be doing over time is having, if you will, a large reservoir of fear-producing conditions in their memory banks, i.e. easy to access. Makes sense to you? Kind of, sort of? So that's one of the questions, is are they building, women build this reservoir because what we know, according to research looking at children's fairy tales, children's life experiences, that females are consistently exposed to more, should I say, more stories where women don't get to become resilient. I.e., males, you get the scary stories, but boys are told what? Buck up! You're the knight in shining armor, right? And what are females taught? Oh, wait to be saved! Good luck to you! Right? Am I too far off the base, or is it just too depressing and you said she must just sit there passively? I get that. So, where do we get these stories? Now, I think it's interesting because you do not have to be given to the, if I would call the mothership Disney, in which to know these roles. These roles are, if you will, writ large within our culture. I mean, I made the silly idea of trying to raise a child where she wouldn't be given these scripts. And she knew them by age 4. Oh my gosh. She was like, well, I want this and I want that. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, but we even sent you to a feminist daycare. How did this happen? All right? It happened because the culture is always telling a story. And Disney, of course, is just one of those, should I say, vectors of information. So we know that males and females are given very different stories, and even though this is just our fictional life, so to speak, or our entertainment, These are very, very salient in terms of our expectations, not only of ourselves, but of the other sex, so to speak. So, let's see if there's any differences in the words. Gavin de Becker, who is my favorite expert in the area of gender and fear, Gavin de Becker indicates in his work that women are very much socialized into a particular role that is ultimately putting them in harm's way. So, before we go there, let's see what the self-identified individuals here are scared of. Oh, we got a bunch of sociologists in here. Look at this. You know, future of America, what's up with you? Okay, just don't look at the paper, all right? Politics, okay. Being alone, good. Cancer, poverty, regret. I have never seen that. Regret, okay. Spiders, failing, disappointing family, snakes. Snakes, a fear of the future, being raped. This guy in my English class. That's funny till it's not. Yeah. We're going to talk about that, okay? Never making an impact. You're young, most of you. Okay. Walking to my car at night. Can you all see? Politics in general, that's a good idea. Growing old and losing my boyfriend. Fear for family and loved ones, uncertainty of the future of our world, humanity, physical, verbal abuse, and my race holding me back. Wow. This is actually a very loaded list, folks. We're going to talk about that. On this brief, yet I'm sure thoughtful side, height, fear of heights. I'm assuming not their own personal height. Okay. Deportation. Yeah, well, back to the politics. Here we are. Spiders seems to be gender-neutral stimuli. Okay. Airplane flights. Okay. Closed places and loss of loved ones. There are some substantive differences here. So there's a lot of overlap, obviously, because just as it is with gender studies, period, there's a lot of overlap. And we tend to always point out differences because that's like how you keep your career strong. Like, I study gender differences, but it's, hey, gender similarities are also really important to study since they are the vast majority of our experience. But what I'm interested in is what are some of those differences and how does that play out in daily life? And so one of the things that Gavin de Becker talks about is the issue with our socialization for males and females, for boys and girls, men and women, is about how you respond to the other. I'll get to that in just a moment. So those are two very different things to be afraid of. And yet, as somebody who's taught women's studies for 25 years, I can absolutely assure you that for women who have gone through my classes, overwhelmingly, one of their biggest fear is being sexually assaulted. It's so part of the female socialization that it's important to pay attention to.
Isn't it part of female reality?
It is. Well, it is part of the female reality. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that today explicitly, because what I want to just talk about at the beginning is kind of what the setup is. It is part of the realities. 25% of women are going to be sexually assaulted. But it's also part of male reality. 12 to 18% of males will be sexually assaulted. And the fact that we don't talk about that is really telling us something important as well. And that's Urquiza's work as well as Finkelhor's work. So they've been studying that since the 80s. But we live in a world where men who get sexually assaulted respond to it very differently than women. They are, for example, much more likely to presume that they brought it on themselves and that they are in charge. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So, but in general, when thinking about what we're afraid of, women are overwhelmingly afraid of being assaulted, and they overwhelmingly report wanting to be seen as nice. And Gavin de Becker suggests that that is problematic, and that's where we're going to go today. You ready? Okay. My friends, unless his name on the birth certificate is Prince Charming, all right, charm is a verb. And so I want you to think about that as I talk about the survival signals. And the reason why is because within our culture, charming gets a great deal of good play, so to speak, right? And we tend to forget that charming is a behavior you are employing. It is strategic. Strategic does not mean malicious necessarily. It just means it is a strategy. Just as niceness is. So, niceness and charm are going to be the two of the major issues we're about to talk about. They are also directly related to false notions of what nice girls, oh, see, even I said it, nice girls, stop it. What girls are told to be, right? Sugar and spice, okay, and everything nice. And boys, besides the snakes and snails bit, right? Understand that if they want to have relationships with other people, charm is possibly the best thing they can have in their pocket. Now, it's just too darn easy not to pick on a little popular culture, right? Right now we're at an interesting time because since the early 90s, we've been what we call third wave feminism. And third wave feminism is about women taking personal control of their sexuality, of their identity, and but if you will, a prevailing notion within this ideology of third wave feminism is that we are in control. Okay? That's a piece of it. Girl movement. What's ironic about it is that we are seeing ways in which this notion around control, i.e., I'm in sexual control, still plays into the same old stereotyped games, i.e., not really. The other thing, and y'all, okay, you know what? You're all too young. Okay. This was a movie where all she had to do was to die to be with the guy. I know, right? That's Belle. And if you ever watch it, please do not be too horrified, but whenever he's coming on to her, it looks like sexual violence. It's really odd. But so just don't look closely. I'm just here as a cultural commentator. But, you know, people go, oh, that's so 10 years ago, so 50 Shades of Grey. Any questions? Okay? All right, let's just move past that. So, within our tropes of what is romantic, clearly it's dying for your man, okay, if you're Belle, all right? In 50 Shades of Grey, it's just having a certain type of power, and I will not go into that. But what's been consistent around our notions about relationships and what females want with relationships is this idea to be pursued. And you know, the research on female sexuality shows being pursued is hot stuff. okay? I won't describe how we can measure that, but we're psychologists, we can. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work out individually as much as it might, should I say, in social situations as much as it might within other situations. Let me explain. Stalking. Is it the world's biggest compliment? Or is it some screwed up business, people? But take a look at our cultural stories about how hot it is to be pursued and pursued and pursued. There might be some tension that should be examined there. So one of the things what I want to talk about when I go into the survival signals that de Becker talks about is that our scripts tell us one thing, i.e. you're in charge. You are a third wave, post-third wave feminist, right? You're in charge. So you got to die a little. You got to be bound up a little, you know? Must be because you want it, right? That's not what the research is showing. And it's also the same old story. Pursue me, that is so hot to be pursued until it creeps you out like that guy, no kidding, not funny, in the English class. Now, a few things about what we're going to go deeper into. So Gavin de Becker suggests that we all have intuition and that we all have gut responses. And he suggests that we need to pay attention to our gut responses in a real focused way. Have you ever met someone that just creeped you out? Yeah? Creeped you out? Yeah. Right? And if you look on the face of it, right, what would you say if you just looked on the face of it? Right? So you met somebody and you're like, ugh. Okay? All right, but they're being perfectly nice and charming. Right? What? Your gut is creeped. What does your brain say? What's your brain say? Pardon me? Oh, good job, right, excellent. Not for most women. For men, they would pay attention to their gut. According to de Becker, they are not trained the same way women are to dismiss that. What's your brain think?
Be nice, be nice.
Be nice. He's being charming, right? He's just paying attention to you, and you're like, ugh, inside. And your brain says, be nice. Because what? He's paying attention to you. So I'm going to read you a little story. And what I want you to do, and I know you're going to resist the small groups activity here, okay? But I want you to listen to everything that makes your gut go, okay? And then we'll write them on the board really fast. And I apologize for my reading voice. He'd probably been watching her for a while. We aren't sure, but what we do know is that she was not his first victim. That afternoon, in an effort to get all of her shopping done in one trip, Kelly had overestimated what she could comfortably carry home. Justifying her decision as she struggled with the heavy bags, she reminded herself that making 2 trips would mean walking around after dark, and she's too careful about her safety for that. As she climbed the few steps to the apartment building door, she saw that it had been left unlatched. Again, she lives in a big city, okay? Her neighbors just don't get it, she thought. Even though their lack of security annoyed her, this time she was glad she didn't have to bother getting her key out. She closed the door behind her, pushing it strongly until she heard it latch. She's certain she locked it. The next came the 4 flights of stairs, which she wanted to do in one trip. Near the top of the 3rd landing, one of the bags gave way, tearing open and dispensing cans of cat food. They rolled down the stairs almost playfully as if they're trying to get away from her. The can in the lead paused at the 2nd floor landing, and Kelly watched it as it literally round the corner, gained some speed, and began its seemingly mindful hop down the next flight of steps and out of sight. "Got it, I'll bring it up," someone called out. Kelly didn't like that voice. Right from the start, it just sounded wrong to her. But then this friendly-looking young guy came bounding up the steps, collecting cans along the way. He said, "Let me give you a hand." "No," she says. "No, thanks, I've got it." "You don't look like you've got it," he said. "What floor are you going to?" She paused before answering him. "The 4th, I'm okay, really." He wouldn't hear a word of it, and by this point he had a collection of cans balanced between his chest and one arm. "I'm going to the 4th floor too," he said, "and I'm late. It's not my fault. Broken watch, so let's not just stand here. And give me that." He reached and tugged on one of the heavier bags that she was holding. She repeated, "No, really, thanks. But no, I've got it." Still holding on to the grocery bag, he said, "There's such a thing as being too proud, you know." For a moment, Kelly did not let go of that bag, but when she did, the seemingly insignificant exchange between the cordial stranger and the receipt of his courtesy was the signal to him and to her that she was willing to trust him. As the bag passed from her control to his, so did she. "We better hurry," he said as he walked the stairs ahead of Kelly. "We've got a hungry cat up there." Even though he seemed to want nothing more at that moment than to be helpful, she was apprehensive about him, and for no good reason, she thought. He was friendly and gentlemanly, and she felt guilty about her suspicions. She didn't want to be the kind of person who distrusts everybody, so they were next approaching the door to her apartment. "Do you know a cat can live for 3 weeks without eating?" he asked. "I'll tell you how I learned that little tidbit. I once forgot that I promised to feed a cat for a friend of mine when they were out of town." Kelly was now standing at the doorway to her apartment, which she had just opened. "I'll take it from here," she said, hoping he'd hand the groceries, accept her thanks, and be on his way. Instead, he says, "Oh no, I didn't come this far to let you have another cat food spill." When she still hesitated to let him in the door, he laughed understandably. "Hey, we can leave the door open just like old ladies in the movies. I'll just put this stuff down and go. I promise." She let him in. He didn't kill her, but he did a lot of things to her for several hours. So what I'd like you to do is to write everything that made your stomach go, everything that sounded off to you. Oh, there's 2. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is an everyday exchange, folks. Here, we got room over here, too. Hey, Katie, thank you for starting that. Pardon me?
What book is that?
Gift of Fear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
I'll
good.
send it out to everybody. It's excellent.
Okay.
You can download it free offline. He's made it available.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. Have you all been trained? This is excellent. This is fantastic. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and write a note to everybody's mother, and you can photocopy it off saying, you are good listeners. You are. No accusations here. These are great listening here. Wow. Did you want to see? Wow. You've hit them all. I know. I'm so impressed. So, let's see what we have here. Small talk, tugging at the bag, wouldn't take no for an answer. We, after they just met. She was not his first victim. You're absolutely right about that. Nor was she the last, but she's one that survived. And that's the good news there. He'd probably been watching her for a while. Yeah, probably, right? His level of persistence for somebody who's just accidentally meeting, too proud over there, don't be so proud. She felt guilty, we need to hurry. He did not respect the repeated no, the we just met. Things like broken watch, not my fault. They kept spewing inorganic pieces of conversation. Yes, that is correct. And yelling snappy, snappy facts at someone who is, clearly not really tending to that information. Well, Gavin de Becker says that there are absolute predictable signals. And he says the reason why it's so important to learn these for women is that women have been socialized to override their gut fear response. He said the problem is that within our culture, women are trained to be nice over and over and over again. And because it's such a pervasive message to women to be nice, it becomes a default. And so if you're distracted, all right, or your gut's going, something's up here, and then you're distracted by whatever the person's saying or doing, right, you're going to fall right to your default response. And if that default response, as it is for most women, being nice, this becomes a problem. And here's why.
You want to see my pictures?
Joey. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Thank goodness they were only those pictures, Joe. Okay. One of the first rules about being nice is called rule of reciprocity. So if somebody says something to you or does something nice for you, do you just like give them the stoned face and just walk by? Or do you do something in response? Do something in response. So somebody, for example, offers to help. I'll help you. And your gut's going, something's wrong with that. But will you ignore the person? Or just say no? Or do you say, no, thank you, I've got it, and you do it in a nice voice? Women within our culture are trained in which to respond nicely. The latest research that just came out looking at issues around women who are attacked by individuals who are persisting in asking them for a date. And the woman says, I don't want to date you, but she's acting really nice, so she's making it the soft, I don't really want to date you. We've found in that research, just reported last week, that that niceness is misinterpreted. as interest. And males follow their script, which is to do what? Be more assertive. Makes sense? For most males, it's not going to be an issue. But for males with less control and greater anger and power issues, it very well may become an issue. And so quite literally, the nice response, like, oh, I can't date you, and you kind of like don't want to tell them the real reason, because you creep me out, and I just don't ever want to see you again. You kind of soft pedal it, right? You do a little dance, right? You go, I just can't right now. It's not you, it's me. I mean, really, right? Because it's all in being nice. Who knows what I'm talking about? It's the socialization. And males are taught to just persist more, persist more, persist more. So one of those rules of reciprocity happens over and over when we take a look at women negating their physiological sign. The sign that something's wrong. The sign that says just get out of here, walk downstairs, go out the front door again with your goddamn groceries. You know what I mean?
Leave the groceries.
Right, better yet, leave the groceries and just, throw the groceries out. Him might be a little overacting, but not in this case, right? But reciprocity says it's a tit for a tat world. It is an iterated world. You do something nice, I have to be nice in response. You offer to buy me a drink, I should do what? At least be nice enough to graciously decline it, or maybe I should graciously drink it because I saw the bartender do it, so maybe it's safe. You know what I mean? And then he goes, ooh, it's a sign, right? And they walk up to talk with you. Oh, I'm somebody that wants to be, I want people to like me, okay? Somebody's liking me. It's a compliment. They want to talk to me. Hence, I should, at a minimum, because I'm nice, do what? Talk. Right. Talk. And then make up, maybe lies to get the hell out of there if you're really creeped out. But the point is, it's always, if you will, these sorts of debts that are being equalized. You go to a birthday party. You don't say, give me that gift. No, you don't. You don't open the gift before the cake, do you? Cake first, then gifts. Folks, it's reciprocity. It'd be unbalanced otherwise, right? You know what? Now does it make sense to you? So it's this idea, all right, around norms of behavior and expectations. You got this one. We. Oh, folks, this is the classic. This is such a classic that in the movie Fargo 20-something years ago, it's one of the best scenes. A car salesperson is trying to sell this person a car. And the person's like, I want a better deal. And all of a sudden, the car salesperson moves to the side of the desk at the people buying the cars and say, well, we need to make this deal. We are going to go, I will go in to the manager's office and demand this deal for us. Suddenly it's like, team buy a car? Oh, no. Okay. Ain't no team buy a car here. They want you to pay maximum money, okay? This is what we call forced teaming. We can see it really easy with a car salesperson, and in the movie Fargo, it's one of the funniest scenes because it's like so patently obvious. But forced teaming happens all the time. And one of the ironies around forced teaming is that even when we know it's being played, we still feel like we have to play the game of reciprocity and be nice in return. Like a typical sort of scenario, a woman, a stormy day, she's got kids and she's got them in the cart and she's trying to get through the wind to the parking lot, and suddenly Prince Charming shows up and he's going to help you get the kid to the car. Now, folks, you kind of go, ooh, look at your faces. Yes, but it happens all the time. And suddenly, it's not like, I'm going to help you. It's like, we have babies getting wet here. And you know what? Reciprocity, even though I'm creeped up. Oh, yeah, thank you. But you're not necessarily going, forced teaming, okay? You're not, all right? What are you doing? You're caught off guard. You are doing what? You're distracted because what? It's windy, it's storming, you've got babies in the cart, you're trying to get to the car, okay? And some nice looking person wants to help you because we have a problem because of the wind. No, we don't have a problem. But the force teaming, we have a hungry cat up there. Many of you heard it. The minute somebody switches to a we in force teaming, that is the absolute signal that they're trying to do a manipulative persuasion technique on you. And like I said, it can be benign, like what would we like for dessert today? Oh yeah, okay, really, because we aren't paying for it or eating it, okay? All right? Or it can be malicious. Context is everything. Typecasting. Got it right there. Too proud. Where was I supposed to say too proud over here too, I think. Yep. Typecasting is astonishing because it's so effective. It's effective for second graders. And it's effective when you're an adult. So typecasting simply is, I want you to do the behavior I desire, and so I'm going to shame you towards that behavior. That's simple. There's such a thing as being too proud, or bitch, or man-hater, or you think you're so much better than I am, you can't have this drink with me. Which should be a sign that, yes, I am, all right? But, folks, women are trained to be nice. Who's been typecasted it before and they have found that they actually complied much to their horror once they thought about it? Oh, yes. It's so easy in which to say to somebody else that sort of fundamental attribution error that you shouldn't have fallen prey to that. But when you're distracted, you're deep into reciprocity, okay? You may be having a lot of mixed emotions, like this guy's creeping me out, okay? But he's so nice and so good looking, okay? Right? So you're having all this dissonance. And typecasting maximizes that dissonance. So if you don't call the person out on it, the likelihood is you're going to actually just increase your behavior towards what he wants. Not even like kinda. You're going to actually do more than you would have if you hadn't used typecasting. Loan sharking. So loan sharking is kind of works with reciprocity. And that's when somebody does something for you for no reason, and now you have a debt to pay. The classic, of course, is to buy you a drink, right? Send you a drink. And there's a debt. You better refuse it. You know, if you do not want to talk to somebody, you had better refuse that drink. Okay? Because there is that debt, and it plays out immediately. And they go, it's just people over there, blah, blah, blah. You're like, oh my God, right? But it is a $9 drink. Unsolicited favors. We'll get you out of this storm. Let me help you with the kid at the car. Oh, how nice. They understand how awkward this is with the babies screaming now that it's raining and the wind and stuff's flying everywhere and it's just rain forever. Distracted. Unsolicited favor. You have to at least be nice in response. That's our conditioning. You have to be nice in response. Got this one too. Yeah, what's with all the chit chat, right? Lots of chat. Lots of chat. So this is called too many details. As a teacher, I know this one so well. Oh my heavens. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I can't come to class today. I'm going, fine. They go, because I'm like, oh God, no, the story. Okay, not the story, right? And the more details, right, the more absurd it becomes so often. Not always, but so often. Too many details is a distractor from what's the real issue. He's talking, right? Where she should really be running, correct? But we are trained in which to be polite. So you're going to do what? At least not tell him off, right? Even though you're going, what? Distraction. Because you're going, cat, 3 weeks, what the hell? Can this guy, whoa, another thought, right? Oh my God, broken watch. Oh my, alarm bells, folks. Too many details is a way to distract you from what the real intent is. You ever go to buy like a major purchase and the salesperson's, like I had a person once that was just the best. I'm buying a freaking HVAC, an air conditioning heater system for my home, okay? And the guy goes, let me show you my car collection. I'm like, what? It was clear once I started talking to him, and he's showing me pictures in his binder instead of air conditioners of his car. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I knew, because I read the book, all right? I knew he didn't know anything about air conditioners, okay? Which was true, so I didn't buy it from him. But the point is, too many details, it was just completely distracting. Did you catch the unsolicited promise? What did he say? Yeah, well, we leave the door open like old ladies in the movies. Don't worry. Why would anybody make a promise like that? Why? Because they know it's going through your mind. And they're doing simple inoculation theory on you. Trying to cut you off at the pass, right? When somebody says, I want, oh, it's your first date. Oh, this is great fun. They go, I swear I'll never be one of those that screw around. And you're like, who knows what I'm talking about? I know y'all do. I know you do. That should tell you right there that somebody's got a history, all right? Okay. And that clearly that's on the agenda. Okay, hear me now, understand me in 20 years, okay? It's true, all right? The unsolicited promise is just the idea that, hey, we're going to be doing this the whole time. And of course, no is a full sentence. I won't hear of it. Really? Then say it louder and walk the other way. So the discounting no, it's so common that we even see it in our romantic sort of dialogues. Oh no, I insist. Oh no, I insist. And oh, that perseverance is hot. Really? Because I think you said no 3 times. Just saying. Anyone who discounts no is someone who cannot be trusted. It is not romantic. So, one thing I often have women tell me, first men are like, whoa, okay? But women often tell me, but what if I'm wrong? I'm in the elevator, I'm going to the parking lot, and nobody else, and a guy gets on, and I'm just kind of nervous because, it's an empty parking lot, multi-floors, and I'm alone with a stranger in the elevator. I don't want to automatically do what? Be a bitch, right? But you know what? Men who are worth anything will be fine with you being a bitch because they won't take it as a personal affront. They will understand that it's not about them per se, even if it is, okay? but it may not be. It may be that you just had a friend that got assaulted and you are hyper attentive and you're just nervous and you need to play out some time before you can feel like you've got your head on straight. You know what I mean? So get off the damn elevator.
Well, don't get on.
Well, you're on it, he comes on, or whatever, right? If you're creeped out, do not get on. You are not obligated.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to interject this.
Please.
As I'm listening to some of this, women in big cities don't do this stuff.
Oh, no, they get hardened. Absolutely.
No, they don't get on it, and you're told this when you go to visit them.
Oh, sure.
Don't get on the elevator. If
That's right.
somebody gets on, you get off.
Get off, you bet.
And with no, oh, excuse me, no.
Exactly.
So
Right.
they're very clear
Mhm.
about safety. It's
Yeah.
women who live in smaller cities, and smaller Sacramento, San Francisco, San Jose, as opposed to New York, Chicago.
As opposed to cities with high rises and public transportation where you are going to be. That's the only way out there. You're not in your bubble. Yeah, that's a really good point. And though Kelly came from a large city, and this is a true story, so the material is still there, but you're much better trained. You're much better trained generally. Yeah. So what I'd like to do is to answer any questions.
Oh, sorry.
Please. No, please.
I just want to say something because there's a lot of women in here, and I guess somebody else raised me because none of this would have happened. But why do you care if someone thinks you're nice or not, especially if you don't know them? Who cares? So if your gut is telling you he's a creep, he's a creep. No, he's being so charming, because the guy in that story was not being charming at all. A charming man would have said okay and respected her no.
Absolutely. And it's the automaticness of it, It's the way in which we're distracted by all of our socialization. But yeah, individuals not necessarily, but culturally writ large, the research shows overwhelmingly this is an issue for women. You know it is. But yeah. But it is who we being nice for. That
Well, can I answer that? Having been, I'm a woman of a certain age, and so I grew up in the South, where ladies were expected to behave a certain way. You're being nice because if you were not, you are going against your values. These are values that you have internalized from the people who trained you when you were growing up. So it's not just that it's an automatic response. You would no more be rude to somebody than you would be to kick a cat. I mean, that's how you internalize it.
But telling someone no is not being rude.
Well, from what she's saying no is not enough. Clearly it wasn't enough for this woman in the book, because she kept saying no. You've got to say it in a way that is rude. Like, look, I said no 3 times. You get out of here, or I am running right downstairs and calling the police.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying about growing up in the South, but he was being very pushy. So the first, oh no, thank you, is fine, but after the second time, it's like, hey, what's going on? So you shouldn't feel like you have to be nice to this guy, is what I'm saying. If your gut is telling you he's a creep, go with your gut. And really, who cares?
Yeah.
If you're being rude or mean or anything. If you want to save your life.
Right. And that's, of course, with stranger.
Yes.
Gets more loaded when we start talking about people we know. Or people we go to school with. Much more difficult. So, for example, if you want to take a look at typecasting, the age where it's absolutely the worst, where you're called names, high school, right? And be willing to take down your whole identity, right? And now they'll do it even virtually. So there's a triple threat, right, for young women, right, to figure out how to traverse this, I think. And for young men, too, for sure. So what I'm talking about primarily, his work is with women, but this is absolutely true for many groups of individuals. It's not just for women. Certainly not. Please.
Oh, that's okay. I was just feeling badly because I've spent my whole life helping people, opening doors, picking up
It's okay to open a door. It's okay.
These guys were making it bad for it, so far. So
And-
I like to help people.
But that's it. But Joey, that's one of the things about this. It's not the majority of men. thank goodness, right? It's not the majority of men, but the ones who are predating, right? They don't just go after one woman. This fellow that got Kelly had 6 or 7 women, and he killed all of them, and she's the only one who survived. So these predators, right, multiple things. So you may have known this from your education, right, from in high school. You know, the person that was behaving badly, and I'll say that with all the irony intended, that individual may have done a number on 5, 6, 7, 8 females. Who knows what I mean by that? It's not just one time, okay? Yeah, so it's not all men, and I realize it's difficult for
But
men.
I think what you've said is, what you've held is that, you know, all you need is one signal. We've had multiple signals
Sure,
here.
sure.
If I offer to help you and I get it done and then I walk away, then there's no more signals, you know.
Right,
So
but that's if
But
somebody
also,
says yes.
If a woman
Go.
said no to you, wouldn't you just
wants
yeah,
to go.
exactly. That's the thing. A man who's not going to be a predator is going to be like, oh, sorry, bye. You know, they're not
Yeah.
going to continue. And be
Exactly.
like, well,
Thank
no.
you. That's right. That's correct. Because men of quality recognize that women can make up their own mind. Absolutely. Totally. Thank you. Yeah. Please.
Do you think that women worry about with the whole nice thing, like if they say no and they're rude about it, that it'll make the man angry and like more violent right then and there?
I think that certainly plays a part for a lot of women. And part of that I know comes with the mixed responses of what to do if somebody's assaulting you. Do you fight back, or does that increase your risk, et cetera, et cetera? There's so much ambiguity, and it's always so contextual. But also, we can be socialized to believe that there's going to be repercussions that may not exist. Does that make sense to you? So it's according to Becker, your best way to reduce your risk is to get out of the situation. He's considered nationally the best person on individual safety. And by the way, I'll do a shout out to Conrad Woodall, who teaches. He has a judo place here in Loomis, but he teaches self-defense class here at Sierra College. It's a unit and a half. It is the best deal ever. So it's a class you take here at self-defense with Conrad Woodall. He teaches 2 different sections of it every semester here. Or you could go to his private studio and pay a whole lot more. But he has a specific class for women and women's safety. It's incredible. Take it. Honestly, it's a great class. He even brings in the truck and everything, so you learn how to. Somebody's trying to abduct you, etc. It's great. Yeah. Other question, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because I know you were saying like, why do you care if people are like, if like people think you're rude? I was the person that wrote down the like guy in my English class, and like now, because he sits right next to me, and like now I'm kind of like I don't want like I'm trying to get switched to like the class that my professor teaches at a different time because he like follows me to class and stuff, and like so it's like kind of like now I'm like I don't want to be rude at first because I'm just gonna be awkward in class because I sit right next to him, and now he like follows me places, and now it's like too creepy that I can't like be around him.
Right.
And, like,
That sounds terrifying. I mean, frankly, seriously. Because one of the things that, well, have they done anything? Well, I don't know. I think following me to class is doing something, but that becomes one of the issues, right? Has he tried to attack you? And so this is a real important issue.
done anything, but it's like he's creepy.
Well, you need to report that so you can get out of that class. Honestly, yeah,
Aren't your teacher and your dean?
absolutely. You absolutely need.
You is doing something.
Yes,
He
I
has
think
done-
that's-
He has done something.
I think you should absolutely retort, and I'll talk to you. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, back in the 70s, this is before people realized that stalking could lead to murder.
Right.
The situation had to be extreme before the police ever took you seriously.
Right.
There was a young woman I knew who had met somebody at a restaurant. Her parents owned it. And this is also during the era when you let men come to your home to pick you up for a date. She thought okay, my daughter was just on me about this recently, but anyway, she thought she knew him because he had come to the restaurant and we had chatted. And when she finally realized that he was creepy and said no, she started coming home and she would find little things that looked like they'd been disturbed in the house.
Yeah.
Something just not not totally moved, but slightly off center.
Yeah.
And so she had her brother talk to him, leave my sister alone. She then comes home, and on her porch, her clothes have been arranged to look like her with ketchup poured all over them.
All right.
She took that to the police, and their reaction, this is the 70s,
Right.
well, what did you do? Yes.
Yeah.
What did you do to cause
Yeah,
this
that's
response?
totally typical.
Because men don't act like this.
That is
This
correct.
is abnormal behavior.
That's right.
So you must have done something to trigger this kind of response. And that kind of episode was repeated over and over again until finally somebody got killed.
Well, it still is repeated in people's minds in terms of assuming the culpability. You know, maybe I shouldn't have smiled at that individual, et cetera, et cetera. Lots more to do on that, for sure. Thank you. And it's true. And until the Dominic Dunn case happened, Dominique, I should say, that was the first time they took it seriously. And by the way, folks, it's, even though we're talking primarily about this in terms of women, gay men and women and trans individuals experience this tenfold what women experience in terms of probability. So it is everybody's issue. And of course, men can be stalked as well. Absolutely, but it's not part of our theme, so to speak, psychologically. And hence, when men are stalked, people don't take it very seriously. And that is an issue as well. But you know, mostly, wow, you're such good listeners. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have the
Okay.
same thing going on in the chat. So. But thank you so much for all the time that you gave to us. I'm glad you got to see pictures of my family here.
Good to see him, Joey.
Thank you so much for coming. This is great stuff. We all learned a lot. And hopefully we'll see you another time.